Hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Mel's Gaming here with another The Hunter Classic video. Now in today's video we are going to take a look at and complete all the objectives for the fall 2021 event mission. It's been a really nice mission, nothing too hard, but just a nice fun mission to celebrate this event. And we're going to take a look at that event mission right now. Fall 2021 Grand Harvest. Howdy Hunter, I never thought I'd see the day. Monica and Franz have agreed to work together. They want to do something to celebrate the end of the harvest season, so they're going to need some nice, fat animals from fall reserves. The mission will last through the event's duration from the 22nd of September to the 28th of September. Objectives. Harvest a red deer weighing at least 200 kgs. Harvest a roe deer weighing at least 30 kgs. Harvest a pheasant weighing at least 2.5 kgs. Harvest a wild boar weighing at least 180 kgs. Harvest a Rocky Mountain elk weighing at least 300 kgs. Harvest a bighorn sheep weighing at least 100 kgs. And harvest a mule deer weighing at least 110 kgs. The rewards for this are the full mission Grand Harvest trophy, the Trapper 10 and 3000 GMs. So nothing too taxing, but some really nice missions. And we're going to start off here on Val de Bois, where I was looking for the red deer and the roe deer objective to complete for those. And the first thing I saw was a pretty decent red stag, which I took a shot at, but unfortunately I was using the 6.5, I misjudged my shot and unfortunately got just a body shot. And as I came over here to pick up the blood from that first stag, I looked over onto that bit of a hill and there was an absolutely monstrous looking stag right around the corner. So I very quickly forgot about the first stag that I had wounded. I thought that I would go and try and catch up with him after, but it was very important to try and get this guy down. Really solid estimate of up to 285, and with a rack like that, I was pretty sure he would be heavy enough to complete this mission, and I wasn't actually sure that the first stag that I had shot at would be, so I really was not disappointed when I saw this guy. It was so cool. The big red deer in Classic just look so fantastic. I mean, look at the width on this guy's antlers. It's incredible. Now, you may actually notice the smaller stag that I wounded coming in there. He didn't really go very far after I shot him, and you can tell that it's the wounded one because of him carrying his head low like that. But because he was coming in just so close, I decided to take a bit of a quicker shot at this stag than I actually wanted to. I wasn't sure with the 6.5 that I'd be able to get through to his heart and lungs from that angle. It's a gun that I haven't used a whole lot apart from for the Puma missions, so I was, a little bit nervous taking that shot. And after wounding this guy, I just wanted to make sure that I did definitely get the big kite down. But thankfully that shot was, as you guys saw, more than enough to drop him on the spot. I kept an eye on that other stag, and if he had actually stopped, I would have taken another shot at him. I just misjudged the first shot, which happens sometimes. I'm not so familiar with all of the rifles. There's a couple of rifles I've used a lot more than others, and the 6.5 is one of those that I'd like to use more, but I just don't use it that much. So I really wasn't sure with my shot placement. I think I shot too high. I think I was overcompensating on that first stag, but this guy is a much better stag anyway, and the shot on him was pretty perfect considering he dropped, and it was a heart and right lung shot, and he is 223 kgs, a 267.1977 scoring red stag. So not a monster, but more than enough to complete the objective, as you will see in the top left-hand corner. And you may notice that the games that I'm going to be in are multiplayer games. I've been hearing a lot recently about multiplayer games seemingly producing more trophy animals, and I have been working on going into the multiplayer sessions, putting up multiplayer sessions a lot more. And I have had quite a lot of success doing that, so it might be something that I try out more just to see if it continues to ring true. But over these missions, it definitely has produced some really nice animals. Now, the second objective, of course, was to harvest a roebuck over 30 kgs, and this guy was a really solid-looking buck, and I actually tracked him for a heck of a long way, because he spooked when I initially saw him. He was not far away from where I actually shot that really nice red deer, and he spooked. I then tried to track him, and something really weird happened where I spotted a roebuck, which was definitely him, And I kept an eye on it, and then as I switched to my rifle, he must have been like next to another roebuck that must have crossed like directly in front of him, and I ended up shooting a completely different animal. And when I walked over to it, I was very confused, but then his tracks were right beside it. It was just one of those weird situations. But he was enough to complete it there at 30 kgs, so really happy with that one. Not a massive buck, but enough to complete that mission. So the next animals we are going to go after are the wild boar and the pheasant here on Hirschfelden. Now, in anticipation of coming to look for a decent sized wild boar, I decided to fill up my wild boar feeder that I had on Hirschfelden. Now, I saw a really good looking male from the other field, so I decided that I was going to crawl in along the top here and try and get an angle on him because he was just so hidden. And as I was crawling along, I noticed this huge looking pheasant out here in the field, and he had a good weight and score estimate. So I pinged his location and continued to crawl in to get a shot on this wild boar. And I was just trying not to spook them because I have spooked them here before, and it is a pain because they all just scatter, and most of them end up going through the trees, so you don't really get a shot at them. And this boar looked really big. He looked bigger than any boar I've ever shot on Classic, so I was really excited to try and get that guy down. But seeing that pheasant as well, I was really hopeful that I might actually have two animals to complete both those objectives in the same field, which was really, really cool and something I was not expecting. And I'm really glad that I was actually recording as I was crawling in, just in case that the boar stepped out or something like that. I hit record just in case, and that meant that you guys got to see me actually spot that pheasant as he was initially, as I initially saw him through the scope. And you can see I'm just rounding the corner here. You can see the fields are divided by the tree lines, and these boar were very hidden by some bushes and the trees in the tree line. And as I came around the corner, you can see them grazing out more into the field, which is exactly what I wanted to see, and it meant that I would be able to get a nice clear shot on the animal I was looking for. And here he is right in front of them all, a really decent sized boar there, some very nice tusks on him. I saw another smaller male, but there was no question about it that that other one, the first one we spotted there, was the biggest one. And obviously, with him having bigger tusks, I was hoping he'd be a bigger weight as well. So I waited, and I was kind of nervous about taking the shot here. I have considered a brain shot. The pig species in this game do have weird hitboxes for their organs, so I prefer to drop them if I can, because otherwise you get intestines or body, and it's just a long time tracking them. But as he was walking along here, I felt more than confident taking a shot at his vitals. Now, what I decided to do after dropping him was to actually go and immediately look to see if that pheasant had actually spooked. And as I scanned out across the field, I noticed that there was not only the pheasant that I had spotted initially, but another male there as well that hadn't spooked. And that was really, really good because it meant that I could actually just run at them and try and get that bigger male down for the mission at the same time. So now you're going to see me spot the first pheasant that I initially spotted and the slightly smaller male that was with him, but two really good sized male pheasants actually together. But I knew that I was going to want to take a trophy shot of that wild boar because he was the biggest by far that I'd ever seen. So I really didn't want to risk this pheasant spooking in the meantime. So that's why I decided that once that boar was down that I would come and just get this pheasant out of the way, and then I could go back to the boar because of course he's not going to go anywhere now that he's been shot. But this pheasant's tail just looked so good. And it is so cool on Classic that you can see whether they are a big male actually sort of physically, whereas in Call of the Wild you actually have to spot them and see the level. In Classic you can sort of judge it based off of the tail, and the tail on this guy just looked huge. And that was really, really exciting. Now, as I ran over to him, I was debating whether to just shoot him on the floor with the pump action or whether I should actually try and get him in the air. And the reason I was debating that at all is because I am a terrible shot when it comes to shooting pheasants. It's been just such a chore every time I've come to shoot pheasants in the air. So I was half considering taking him there while he was on the ground. But I decided, seeing as he did look so big, I would try and get him in the air. And I'm really glad that I actually did. So the first shot completely missed, but the second shot brought him right down. And I was really, really happy with that. I honestly thought after I had got him into the air that it was going to be a long time of me chasing this guy around the map, as it has been with other pheasants, including the melanistic pheasant that I shot a long time ago. I tried to get that one in the air and I just never could, and he ended up being shot on the ground. But just look at the size of the tail on this guy. Absolutely huge. An absolutely beautiful bird, and 2.7 kgs and a 28.4560 scoring pheasant. So he completes the objective there for the mission, and it's a really good sized bird. He is actually quite low on the leaderboard, so it's nice to have another leaderboard pheasant and actually have one that's on the leaderboard properly, because the last one that I got that would have been a leaderboard pheasant ended up being counted as ground because I shot it so close to the ground as it was taking off. So really nice to get that one. But then I was just very intrigued to see what this wild boar was going to score. It's really good looking tusks on him, 202 kgs, and a 1121.9498. So that completes that mission objective, and it is a personal best wild boar for me. Now, I know that they can get a lot bigger. There's, a lot bigger ones on the leaderboard. However, this is a personal best for me, so I am going to end up taxidermizing him after taking a nice trophy shot, just purely as something to try and improve upon in the future. But a really, really good boar, and I think the boar actually look a lot better than just the normal feral pigs. The boar do have better models for sure, and I was really happy with this trophy shot. The poses there really came in handy when I actually purchased them, and it was really nice to just get a new personal best whilst doing this mission. So now on to the Bighorn objective. So I was scanning around, I spent quite a while looking for a decent sized Bighorn to complete that objective, and I eventually found this guy, which had a really big set of horns on him. I was very, very excited to see this guy. I really do like the Bighorn in Classic, they really do look good. Now, I have got the 9.3, and I do trust the 9.3 at range on the Bighorn. It will drop them even with a body shot, they don't go that far, but he is a very impressive looking ram. Up to 115 kgs and up to 210 on his score estimate, so definitely a solid animal. Now, I think I aimed a little bit off here. I think I should have aimed just a tad higher looking at it back in sort of recording, and he didn't go down straight away, but I kept an eye on him. As I mentioned, I'm more than confident with the 9.3 that it takes them down after not very long, and he ran just a little bit out of sight here and then down along the cliff a little bit more, and it wasn't very far after I actually lost sight of him here that I actually found him dead. So you can see he's carrying his leg, so I'm pretty sure I ended up hitting him somewhere in the leg, which was a bit of a shame. But really, really didn't go very far from that last point that I actually spotted him. And he actually landed really nicely. That's actually a really nice position to have a good look at his horns. A really nice looking animal. The Bighorn in Classic looks so much more realistic than the ones in Call of the Wild. But yeah, you can see left front leg and 106.4 kgs, a 163.7793 scoring ram. So a really nice one to complete that mission. But just look at how good this looks. I hope in future in Call of the Wild they do change the Bighorn to look more like this, because they are just so much more realistic and I think they look really, really fabulous. Now, to complete the mule deer objective, after hunting the Bighorn, I came down to hunt along the waterways on Timber Gold, looking for a decent sized mule deer buck. Now, I was going to take that buck there on the far right hand side when I saw this absolute monster of a buck cresting the little bit of a ridge there. Immediately grabbed the 9.3 and dropped him. I just did not see him when I was literally about to shoot the other one. I'm so glad that I waited just a few more seconds before taking a shot. Otherwise, this guy would have been spooked and I would have spent probably a very long time tracking him. But he looked really solid. I wasn't sure exactly how good he was going to be because it was a very fleeting glimpse, as you guys will have just seen, before I actually pulled the trigger. but he looked really solid on the ground. But a couple of short tines, unfortunately, so I didn't expect him to be a personal best or anything. But 116.9 kgs and 211.6925, which is a really nice mule deer. Anything over 200 is really, really nice. So to get a 200 to actually complete that objective was really cool. Another really quality animal for to actually just doing this mission. I've had a really, really good amount of really nice animals just doing this, and 102 GMs for that guy. And finally, the last objective I needed to complete was the Rocky Mountain Elk objective. And I got a call from this guy, and as he came in, he had a really solid weight and score estimate. He wasn't going to be massively high scoring as he only had 2 back tines on each side and they weren't particularly big, but just a decent sized bull, and I was hopeful that he would actually make the weight requirement. And dropped him there with a 9.3, and he landed really nicely. If this guy had been bigger or a rare, he would have been in such a good position to actually take a trophy shot. But managing to pick him up here, he is 335.8 kgs and he is a 365.5513 scoring bull. Now that's what I call a grand harvest. Nice job up in the left hand corner there. So that is it. That is it for the fall 2021 mission. I really enjoyed doing it, got some nice animals along the way, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.